Alright, so today I want to introduce you to one of the brightest and flashiest ball pythons that you can actually make, and that is the Super Orange Dream. And when it comes to the Orange Dream, I'd say there's quite a few different lines of Orange Dream. Some of them are not that bright, and some of them are the high intensity lines that are absolutely stunning. They are super bright, and if you actually make the super form with 2 copies of the genes, let me tell you, they can be so bright. It is so amazing. As a matter of fact, you can actually work other genes into the high intensity line of the Super Orange Dream to make some combos that will absolutely blow you away. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over the internet and I want to show you the amazing potential of the Super Orange Dream. Alright, so I'm going to jump over here on morphmarket.com and I want to start with the Orange Dream, just 1 copy of the Orange Dream. And I'd say as far as Orange Dreams, this is probably one of the best examples that I've ever seen of an Orange Dream. Sometimes they're not really that bright, sometimes they're kind of in the middle, and as far as this one is, as far as all the Orange Dreams I've seen, this is probably the best example of the brightest and cleanest Orange Dream. And this is probably what I would consider a high intensity line. As a matter of fact, a lot of people, they'll actually list it as a high intensity line of Orange Dream. And there's a couple things in Orange Dream that can actually trick you into thinking there's actually other genes in the mix. And if you actually take a look at this one, the pattern is a little bit reduced, and in some Orange Dreams it is super reduced. It almost looks exactly like it has Enchi in the mix, where it actually doesn't have Enchi. It can kind of trick you, especially on some of these Orange Dream combos and Super Orange Dreams. It is pretty amazing how reduced the pattern is. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen other genes that are similar, like if you actually start working with the Desert Ghost, which is a recessive gene. A lot of times if you start mixing it in with other genes, you get a lot of reduced patterns where it almost looks like you have Enchi in the mix. And a lot of times if you actually mix Enchi in with the Orange Dream, a lot of times you can't even tell if it's in there because it's already such a reduced pattern. It really takes a keen eye to kind of pick out the Enchi. And another thing about Orange Dream where it's kind of tricky is it actually has tracks on the belly of the snake that look exactly like het pied markers. So I actually pulled up this picture over here. It took me a while to actually find this picture. Take a look at this. This is incredible. So this is actually a Super Orange Dream, but it has these tracks right down the belly, and you'll see the same tracks on the Orange Dream. And as a matter of fact, if you actually take a pied, breed it to something else, all the normal looking het pieds, a lot of times they'll actually have these tracks on the belly that indicate that it's possibly het pied. And I've actually produced quite a few het pieds with really strong belly markers on them, and you can only see the het pieds when you're looking at normals in a lot of cases. And when I first started looking at the Orange Dreams, I was like, this looks exactly like it's actually het for pied with 1 copy of the recessive pied gene. And as a matter of fact, this is just part of the Orange Dream mutation. As a matter of fact, if I actually look at some of the tracks on the het pieds, I've never seen tracks on het pieds come all the way up the belly, all the way up, like so far up, like on this one. Usually the het pied markers, this looks exactly like a het pied marker, except usually they're only down by the vent, the really base of the tail. Sometimes they'll come up maybe about half the way up the belly like this, but I've never seen such strong markers like this on a het pied. And let me tell you, if you look at an Orange Dream, sometimes you can think, all right, this looks like it's het pied. It looks like it may have Enchi in the mix, where in fact it's just Orange Dream. So if you actually take Orange Dream, 2 of them, and you breed them together, 25% of the time you get a Super Orange Dream. And take a look at this snake. This thing is glowing like no other snake that I've seen. It is pretty amazing. And some of these Super Orange Dreams, this is probably one of the brightest ones I've seen, that really high intensity Super Orange Dream. And it's kind of a weird kind of a pattern on this one, because in a lot of Super Orange Dreams you actually see an almost Enchi-like reduction in the pattern. Then this one you can almost make out some of the Roswell gray alien heads, not really reduced as far as the pattern. So what I want to do is I want to kind of mix other genes into the Super Orange Dream so you can see the ultimate potential. And believe it or not, as bright as that snake was, you can actually improve on that snake by mixing other genes into the mix. And one of them is pastel. And pastel is a yellow gene. It brings more yellow into the Super Orange Dream. And the pastel is really variable too, as well as the Orange Dream. So you can actually have different pastels side by side, you know, from like a high intensity line to a low intensity line, similar to the Orange Dream. It's kind of interesting. And kind of the weird thing about pastel is it also reduces the pattern too. So you have a more yellow and a pattern reduction. And if you actually take the pastel, work it into the Super Orange Dream, take a look at this beauty. It is incredible. It is so bright. It is amazing. And it really, you can definitely tell the reduction in the pattern on this one is probably mostly from the Super Orange Dream. Maybe a little bit from the pastel, but you know, you look at this one and you're like, that definitely has enchi in it, where it doesn't have enchi at all. It can really trick you in a lot of these Super Orange Dreams. And here is another gene that works really well with Super Orange Dream, and that is the fire. The pastel and the fire both work really well with the Super Orange Dream. And the fire is kind of one of those sleeper morphs. It kind of has a creamy appearance by itself, but when you actually mix it in with other genes, essentially what it does is it really cleans up the background, kind of takes out all the pixelation, and a lot of times it really lightens and brightens a lot of these really super bright snakes. So this is what happens if you mix fire in with the Super Orange Dream. Take a look at this beauty. That is amazing. It's amazing how these genes all work together to make some of the brightest snakes that you can make in ball pythons. And you can definitely tell in this one, it doesn't have any enchi. This is the Super Orange Dream Fire. Just, you know, 2 copies of the Orange Dream to make the Super, and then 1 copy of the Fire. Pretty simple to actually make with only 3 genes. And keep in mind, if you actually take 2 Super Orange Dreams and you breed them together, you'll get a whole clutch of Super Orange Dreams. So if you actually took this snake and bred it to a Super Orange Dream, half of them would be Orange Dreams, Super Orange Dreams, the other half would be Super Orange Dream Fires. You'd have a whole clutch of all of these amazing snakes. Pretty amazing project. And it's kind of expensive to get into. As a matter of fact, when I first started, these were really crazy in price, and they've come down quite a bit. This one is, I can't believe this one's only $450, and it really depends on the line of the Super Orange Dream. I've seen these, you know, go up over $1,000, sometimes over $2,000, you know, to actually get into some of the really high intensity lines of the Super Orange Dream. So here is the enchi. Speaking of enchi, and I kind of wanted to show you what happens when you mix enchi into the Super Orange Dream, so you can kind of get an eye for, you know, what it's actually doing. And essentially what the enchi does is it really reduces the pattern into almost bands. Sometimes it reduces it more or less depending on the line of enchi. And a lot of times with the enchi, it'll also bring out a lot of the yellows and the oranges, makes for a really more intense background color with the enchi. And here's what happens if you mix enchi in with the Super Orange Dream. And take a look at this. It's kind of hard to actually tell that it's actually in the mix because the Super Orange Dream is already so reduced in the first place. As a matter of fact, I actually bought a pastel Desert Ghost male that actually had enchi in it, and I didn't know it had enchi, and the guy that sold it to me actually didn't list it as enchi because the pattern is so reduced with the Desert Ghost. And I actually bred it to something else, and I produced a lemon blast with a really super reduced pattern, so I definitely know that there is enchi in the mix. But sometimes if you have enchi in there, sometimes you're just scratching your head, all right, does this have enchi or not? And I think it really takes a keen eye to pick out the enchi in a lot of these combos. And sometimes if you actually produce a whole clutch of offspring, sometimes you can actually look at the color, the background color of the snake. So a lot of times you get a little bit more orange with the enchi kind of popping out, even though the pattern is reduced. Sometimes there's a slight color change where you can actually tell that there's enchi in the mix. So here is the spider, and when it comes to the Super Orange Dream, let me tell you, spider is the key to making some of the most impressive Super Orange Dream combos. This will blow you away. It's pretty amazing, and the spider is actually a dominant mutation. So if you actually take a spider and you breed it to something else, half the offspring come out as spider. And spider's kind of a unique morph. It almost looks like there's multiple genes in the spider, and it's just one gene. It almost looks like there's Enchi and maybe Calico bringing up the white, and you know, it almost kind of looks like a pinstripe and sometimes because it's so gold in the background, and it's just one gene, the spider. It is pretty amazing. And here's what happens if you mix spider in with the Super Orange Dream. Take a look at this beauty, and essentially what it does is it just takes the spider and it really gives it a really intense background color. And I kind of want to show you a couple more directions you can actually take this snake, working the spider into the Super Orange Dream. This is just like the beginning, the tip of the iceberg when you're working with some of these spider Super Orange Dream combos. Take a look at this one. This one is pretty amazing. This is actually working yellow belly in the mix. In yellow belly, it looks almost like a normal ball python, like the wild type ball python, and you actually mix it into some of these, it just cleans it up so much more, and really enhances the yellow even more. It's like super bright. This snake does not even look real. It is pretty amazing. This is the Super Orange Dream Spider Yellow Belly. And here's something else you can actually mix in with the spider and the Super Orange Dream, and that is the Enchi. So in this case, when you're actually mixing Enchi with the spider, essentially what it does is it takes the spider web pattern and reduces it to little tiny spots on the top of the snake. So, you know, in some combos you could definitely tell there's Enchi in there, especially with the Enchi and the spider on top of the Super Orange Dream. And here's one more combo with the spider I kind of wanted to show you. This one is crazy. Take a look at this. This is the Super Orange Dream Sugar Spider. So essentially what this is the sugar acts the same as the calico, where it really brings the whites up the sides of the snake. Sometimes the sugar can be like a high white, and sometimes it can be a low white. And especially if you mix it with the spider, because a lot of times on the spider will already have a lot of white coming up the sides, and then you add the sugar on top of it, and it really brings the pattern all the way to the top. And then the Super Orange Dream makes it really pop. Is, you know, you start thinking, all right, I could add yellow belly and pastel and fire in this and make it even more impressive. You know, all those genes really make these combinations just really explode. So I want to kind of go back and show you what the calico looks like. The calico is similar to the sugar, and as a standalone morph, I'd say this is probably the best example of a calico slash sugar that I've actually seen over here on Morphmarket. And sometimes the white can really be high white on some of these calicos. It's pretty amazing. And if you take calico just by itself and you mix it in with the Super Orange Dream just by itself, it can be pretty impressive. So essentially what it does is it kind of brings up the white on the sides of the snake. And this one's kind of interesting too. It reduces the pattern almost to where it looks like there's spider in the mix, but there's no spider in this one. This is just the Super Orange Dream and the calico. And you start working with Super Orange Dream and you just see all these amazing combos. It's like, I definitely need to get Super Orange Dream in my collection. It seems like every time I do one of these videos, it's like, all right, I need this one, I need that one, and it can be so addictive, kind of going down these rabbit holes of all these genes you want to add to your collection. And pretty soon you have a whole room full of snakes like I do here. It can be really addictive. So here is the Pinstripe ball python. This is one of my favorites. Probably the brightest gold ball python morph. You can actually find just one single gene, the Pinstripe. The Pinstripe is actually a dominant mutation too. So you breed it to something else, half the offspring come out as Pinstripe, and you actually lose all the gold color when you breed it to the Super Orange Dream, working into the Super Orange Dream. And here is what it looks like. This is really a crazy combo. This is the Super Orange Dream Pinstripe. Really super bright and clean. Usually I like my pinstripes to be really gold, but in this case, just how clean and bright it is pretty amazing. You know, I've seen some similar snakes to this. As a matter of fact, the Pinstripe Desert Ghost looks really similar to this as far as being really clean and kind of a unique appearance for a pinstripe combination. So here is the pied ball python. The pied works really well with super orange dream. The pied is actually a recessive mutation, so you actually need 2 copies of the pied to actually get a visual. And sometimes with 1 copy you can see the tracks on the belly, but I'd say in most cases there's no indication that you can actually tell het pied is in the mix in a lot of, especially when you're in combos. You know, if you're actually looking for het pied markers, the only het pied markers that I've really seen are in just the normal wild type ball pythons without any other genes in the mix. So if you had like a pinstripe het pied, you definitely couldn't see the het pied markers at all in that combo. So if you actually work super orange dream into the pied, take a look at this crazy snake. That is really awesome. It makes the little splotches right here super bright orange. It's pretty amazing. And this one actually has yellow belly in it that really enhances the color of the orange, and it also has leopard. Leopard actually makes the dark parts of the snake even darker, so it makes for probably one of the best pied combos that I've actually seen over here on Morphmarket. As a matter of fact, I was wondering how much this one is. I bet this one's expensive. Yeah, $6,500. That is a crazy snake here. So this one's actually the super orange dream, the yellow belly, the leopard, and the pied. So the pied's actually 2 copies to get a visual. The super orange dream is also 2 genes. So essentially you're looking at like a 6 gene animal, which is kind of hard to produce, and really I'd say it's really difficult to actually reproduce, as far as, you know, unless you had like maybe like a super orange dream pied, you mix it with a super orange dream yellow belly pied or something like that, working leopard. You know, if you already started with the supers and the pieds, it'd be a little bit easier to hit. But you know, if you actually took this snake and bred it to like a normal, you actually couldn't reproduce it, because you'd get 1 copy of the super orange dream and all of them would be het pieds. So that would be a little bit more difficult to actually hit. You'd have to actually breed the offspring together, and then your odds would be pretty low to actually reproduce this snake. So here's kind of the last gene I wanted to show you, working it into the super orange dream, and that is the leopard. The leopard is kind of a pseudo dark morph. As a matter of fact, if you mix it with genes like the coral glow, it doesn't really darken it at all, because you're already starting with a really bright snake. But if you mix it with something that already has some dark in it, a lot of times it'll really make the dark a super jet black. And here's what happens if you mix leopard into the super orange dream, and take a look at this. It really just takes the leopard, keeps the black in the leopard, and really just enhances the whole snake. Really makes for an impressive combo. As a matter of fact, I have one more here at the end working fire into this, and you know, fire works really well with super orange dream. So take a look at this. This is the fire leopard super orange dream, one of the most amazing combos that I've ever seen. And it would be pretty amazing just to actually, you know, I always work on these projects, you know, kind of going through and looking at all these examples, and I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to actually start over, completely start over, and build your whole collection around just super orange dream. Just buy all super orange dreams, and you would get some really amazing clutches coming out of just the really high intensity line of the super orange dreams. Alright, so it is time for the question of the day. And Bipolar Aquatics asks, is there still a neurological problem with spiders if you mix them in with other genes? And that is a very good question. As a matter of fact, some people kind of shy away from the spider gene because it tends to have a neurological issue called a head wobble. It can have kind of a little, sometimes it shakes the head a little bit, and sometimes it kind of tilts it a little at an angle. I'd say most of the spiders that I've seen have almost 0 head wobble, maybe just a really slight head wobble. And in some really extreme cases, you know, spiders can actually, you know, do some corkscrewing and stuff like that. And it's you know, a lot of people look at the really extreme examples of the head wobble and kind of give the spider a bad name. But if you look at the popularity of the spider, as a matter of fact, just in sheer numbers, the spider is the number 3 most popular morph in all of ball pythons. It's a really amazing snake. And the kind of the interesting thing about the spider is if you actually mix it in with other genes, sometimes it'll actually mask the spider, especially if you breed it with blackhead. They say the blackhead spider combo is actually completely masks the head wobble of the spider. And pretty much from what I've seen and what I've experienced here in my collection, if you actually mix the spider in with the desert ghost, it seems like it also takes away all of the head wobble, although I don't know in all cases if it actually does. But let me tell you, my spider pastel desert ghost female has absolutely no wobble at all. You can't even tell that spider is in the mix, but it has a really amazing spider pattern. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.